Welcome back for another video. It's time for the Gameweek 28 episode of the Experts. It's a blank game week and there's chips active and hits flying this week. If you're new around here, this series consists of hundreds of managers that meet the requirements to participate, many top all-time managers involved. We look at the experts' data each week, including their transfer plans, captaincy, chip usage, their teams and more. So if you'd like to improve your rank through valuable experts' data, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Beginning with a quick manager highlight, David Vo's holding firm in the number one spot in the Experts League. He scored 104 points last game week and he saved his bench boost, a green arrow to rank 217th. The average expert score was 97 last week. Well done if you managed to beat the average expert score. Heading into Gameweek 28, 13 experts are in the top 10k and a further 4 are just a couple of points outside. These blanks and doubles are certainly the opportunities to climb, as we saw last week. So next up is the transfer activity among the experts. This week just 6% are able to roll their transfer into the blank, and it's also worth mentioning into the international break. Ordinarily it's good practice to take 2 transfers into the break, as they have the potential to throw up an injury, even more so for potential bench boost to follow for many teams. However, being a blank game week next, it is an awkward week and transfers are needed by most managers. 39% are making 1 transfer, 43% are making 2, and 4% are making 3 transfers. One expert's making 4 transfers. In terms of hits, 21% are taking a -4 and 2% are taking a -8. So let's look at which players the experts are actually transferring in and out. The top transfer in is Watkins, who's being grabbed by a massive 59% of the experts. Surprisingly high given the quality of some of the alternative options, such as Havertz, who's been picked up by just 4%. It's a Haaland mass sale among the experts, sold by 58%. Unbelievable given that he's the top scorer in the game and around 80% owned. However, the likes of Watkins, Havertz and Tony play both this week and double in Gameweek 29, so it's 2 fixtures gained. Realistically, they should be able to outscore Haaland's 1 game in 3 games. Unsurprisingly, the most sold players are largely those with no fixture this week. Estepinian is the second most sold, 19% of the experts dropping him. Meanwhile, Chilwell's the second most transferred in by 34%. Over the international break, Estepinian will be representing Ecuador and they have a game away against Australia on the 28th of March, which is a Tuesday, and Brighton play on the Saturday afternoon, so some have debated that there's a chance he might not be back and ready for that game. Again, you're gaining a fixture by making such a move this week, but this one's less clear cut with just 1 fixture gained, and Brighton do double in 29 against Brentford and Bournemouth, which is a good pair of fixtures. 16% are transferring Maddison in, 6% Kane, and 4% have opted for James over Chilwell. A couple of managers are getting both. 6% of the experts have their free hit active, and those are the only managers that are actually getting Son. None are actually transferring him in without a chip active. As a result, 3% are bringing Son in for this week only, who isn't a bad 1 week punt at all. A quick overview of the chip usage, and we've got both a free hit and a wildcard team to share by experts that are using the chip this week. 85.3% have wildcarded, and one expert's wildcarding this week, which leaves just 13% with the chip still to use. The free hit and bench boost chips are largely untouched still, though 6% of the experts are free hitting this week. Just one manager bench boosted last week, and to some success as well, with the single game week assets like the Arsenal mids and defenders all delivering. FPL Guy W has his wildcard active this week. He's firmly inside the top 100k currently, and he's gunning for back-to-back top 10k finishes. He sent his wildcard in, which is as follows. It's Kepa, Trippier, Cher, Botman, White, Chilwell, Maddison, Saka captain and Odegaard, and then a front 2 of Watkins and Kane. On the bench he's got Ward, Haaland, Mitoma and Rashford. He said, "The fixtures of blank game week 28 and double game week 29 allows us to set up well with a wildcard team in a blank game week and also prepare for bench boosting in the upcoming double game week 29, which is pretty ideal and unprecedented. I only have my wildcard and bench boost left, so I also have to keep an eye on blank game week 32. That makes triple up on Newcastle inevitable, which is the most reliable team defensively out of the teams playing on 28, 32 and double on 29. While Haaland is a big dilemma this game week, I've decided to keep Haaland on the wildcard, as my team can fill 11 players on the field this week, and with Haaland on the bench ready to immediately come back for the upcoming game weeks when everyone else is likely to move him back for game week 30. Essentially, I think Haaland playing Liverpool with 1 transfer could outscore double game week forwards, such as Havertz, Iheanacho and Solanke. The plan for double game week 29 is to move Odegaard to McAllister, and I'll bench boost with 4 single game week players, which might not look inviting on paper, but those 4 are quality, consistent players with good fixtures, i.e. Haaland, Kane, Saka and White. The upside is there, I suppose. FPL Berg or Adam has his free hit active. He's got 3 top 10k finishes, including a finish inside the top 500. His free hit is active and his team is as follows. It's Kepa, Chilwell, Trippier, Gabriel, Martinelli, Maddison and Son, Saka captain, and then a front 3 of Tony, Kane and Watkins. On the bench he's got Ward, Almiron, Botman and Vestergaard. He said, I like to have a bit of fun with the free hit and bring in players I wouldn't necessarily want to keep longer term. Son falls into this category. He's an exciting pick against bottom of the league Southampton. Budget isn't really an issue with Haaland and others having no fixture, so I'd like to have also included Sterling as a good 1 week punt. Despite his 9.7ml price tag, it's a shame he's likely injured. Maddison, Martinelli and Watkins are all great options. I'm taking this week in isolation and I prefer them to the alternatives such as Odegaard and Almiron, who is on my bench, and Havertz. The rest of my team kind of picks itself. Kane and Tony will be popular, and loading up on Arsenal is logical, and Chilwell and Trippier have a good chance of returning at both ends. I also like the look of James. If I'm confident he's fit ahead of the deadline, I'll include him too in place of Gabriel, with Kepa switched to Ramsdale and my bench downgraded to fund it. Great to get your thoughts and thanks both for sending in. On to the Experts captaincy, and it's the most divided it's ever been this season. 49% are captaining Kane, 33% are on Saka. Those are the 2 most popular picks, but there's many other names with the armband this week. Tony with 5%, Chilwell and Martinelli with 4%, and a few experts are on Odegaard, James, Trippier and Watkins. The takeaway is that there's so many good options this week, and if you've got a gut feeling about a player, don't be afraid to back it. There's far less potential damage to your rank this week if you get it wrong. In past game weeks we've seen Haaland at around 200% effective ownership, so if you dare to captain elsewhere in those weeks, he's only 100% owned in your team, meaning other managers gain 100% of his points against you. Kane and Saka might push over 100% effective ownership this week, particularly in the higher ranks, but the damage isn't as severe if you get it wrong. The good news is that in double game week 29 it'll look the same, so we've got a couple of fun weeks for captaincy before it likely defaults back to Haaland for a while. Before we look at the Game Week 28 Experts team, please hit like on this video if it has been useful and make sure you subscribe to the channel. So here's how the Experts team looks for Game Week 28, built from their highest owned players. It's Kepa in goal, a back 5 of Chilwell, Trippier, Zinchenko, Henry and Botman, just 2 in midfield which are Saka and Odegaard, and a front 3 of Tony, Watkins and Kane captain. Only Raya on the bench with a fixture this week. March, Mitoma and Rashford blanking, but they do have eye-catching doubles after the break. Haaland's ownership was the lowest it's been for a very long time last week at 89%, and that will drop significantly more after this week's transfers. Rashford the most owned player at 98% ownership, Tony and Trippier both owned by 97%. At the opposite end still has crept in at the bottom with 11% ownership among the experts, one to monitor with that nice double game week 29 and potentially a further 4 double game weeks after game week 29, just 1% owned by the overall player base, but he put up an 11 pointer last game week, 3.9 mil a bargain if he keeps his spot in goal. Leicester another side with an excellent double game week 29, and Maddison's another one who we could see climb up, 17% owned by the experts currently, 7% overall. Each game week we ask the experts to give their insight and tips for the game week ahead. FPL Charminator says, blank game week 28 is all about damage limitation, with many popular picks blanking. Captaincy again will be critical for rank gains, but by now we should have an idea about what approach to take to cover blank game week 32 and plan transfers accordingly. Joey says, tempted by Felix or Havertz, but I'm going to Watkins to replace Haaland because of the minutes and fitness. His home fixtures after double game week 29 aren't bad at all, and it could be a long term hold. Tony will most likely leave the team for Haaland in game week 30. FPL Sean says, keeping Salah on the game week 27 wildcard didn't pay off. Don't see the need to hold him for a tough away double, and I feel like Maddison offers more upside over the next 2 game weeks. FPL Analyst says, with the international break looming, I want to maximise Game Week 28 with 11 players, and hope all players come back fine, ready for Bench Boost 29. NL Bounty was indeed the one expert who bench boosted last week, and he says, think I was the lone bench booster from last week's video. Good score from it, 134, but it's hard to gauge if it was the right call until Game Week 29 bench boosters play theirs. Evolution FC says, I feel as though a defender captaincy is being unfairly overlooked this game week. There are lots of fixtures which are good defensively, but not as good offensively, such as Chelsea at home to Everton, Arsenal at home to Palace, and Newcastle away at Forest. I'd expect clean sheets from all these teams, with the likes of Trippier, Chilwell and Gabriel. They all carry attacking threat. I've stuck with captaincy on Trippier, as I think we'll see at least one defender from one of these teams come out with the likes of a 15-pointer. Very Messi says, only playing 10 this week, doesn't feel like it's worth the hit with only Saka and Kane on a single game week next week for my bench boost. Irvs11 says, nice to have the Gameweek 26 wildcard begin to pay off after the freak result of the Liverpool game last week. Feels like the wildcard crowd's about to make some serious gains. Marco says, Havertz over Watkins purely for expected vibes. And lastly, Carl Smith says, everyone chill out. Estepinian isn't going to be in economy class, is he? Thanks for watching the video. Before you all go, please drop it a like if it was useful. Make sure you're subscribed. We'll be live later for the deadline. See you then.